Hi, Laurie here with Colorful Creative Watercolors, and it is Paint It Friday, where we're going to paint the sketch that we did on Tuesday. If you're just joining us, we had a sketch on Tuesday. You can go back and look through my YouTube videos and find out exactly how I sketched it. So we're going to do the mushroom with the little bear, and right now, here we go. We're going to get started. I already have it traced, and I am showing you my paintbrushes, a number 6 round, a number 2 round, and my micron pen. And those are what we're going to be using. So then there's the sketch. I have it on my light box. I sketched it through there. If you don't have a light box, you can sketch it through a window. These are the colors we're going to use. I used a red, and that's going to be for the mushroom cap and some of the flowers. And then I have a light brown for the bear. We're going to use that for the bear. And any type of the yellow for the bee, and then we have the green for the grass. And then with that, I have it's a Paynes gray that I will mix in with the green to make a darker grass. And then that there is for the mushroom base itself. So there was one color I forgot to show you, and I will actually show you here in a second. It is the blue for the sky. My favorite color blue to use for skies is cerulean blue. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be wetting the area around in the sky. I'm just getting my brush, there we go, wetting the area, because we're going to do a wet on wet technique to do our sky. So as I'm wetting that, and I'm grabbing my blue, and I realize, oh, there it is. It's a cerulean blue. I just love that for the sky. So we'll use that for the sky. And any of those colors, my color palette might not be like your color palette, so you can use whatever colors you want. Those are just the colors I use. So now I'm filling in that wet sky there with the blue, because I don't want it to be very dark. And when I do skies and certain paintings, mostly a lot of them, I will do like a diagonal, and I'm just doing a diagonal there with the blue, adding a little bit more, and just doing a diagonal for the sky. I will list the colors I use below in the description. So if you want to use the same colors I do, I will list the exact colors that I used. And then you'll be able to write them down. So now I'm getting in with that red. It's kind of a pinkish red, but it's red. And I'm painting in the mushroom. Now, I did not trace the circles. It's okay if you did, that's fine. I did not trace the circles. I thought I was just going to paint around and make my own little areas in there. You could always, if you did put circles in, you could always erase them if you don't want to. You don't need to have them in if you feel confident that, just don't coat the whole cap of the mushroom. Just leave a couple odd, shapes here and there to make it look like it's a spotted mushroom top. And then I'm doing some where it looks like it's going around the curve of the mushroom. So just adding some more paint there, some more pigment. But that will all blend in together. I'll drop some more in on the other side, which you'll see as I'm painting. Just leaving all those little white random spots on that mushroom. I love painting mushrooms. I just think they're fun to do, and I like that whimsical. And the reason I kind of went with this theme was I just wrote a blog post on whimsical fairy tale paintings, and so I was kind of in the mushroom zone because I made a little mushroom house in my tutorial that I did for that blog post. And I can link that blog post down below as well. So there I'm just filling it in. Now if you notice, I'm not keeping it all the same value of red, because you don't want it to. You want to have different values, because I didn't want this mushroom to be a straight solid red mushroom. I wanted it to have different color values of that same color, which means you have your first layer, and then I'm adding on that second layer, and that one I'm doing while it's still wet because I like the way then it bleeds around. So now I took some of that brown and I'm just going around with the little bear, and because I want to stay away from the mushroom where the paint is wet, so I'm going to move on to another part of my painting, and I'm just going around and filling in the little bear, sitting there lazing up against the mushroom, and that must be a giant mushroom for that little bear to be under it, but that's okay. It's fun, it's fantasy, it's whimsical. I like it. So I'm just filling him in, and that's basically all I'm doing, because I want to give a base color to him. Because I want him to be all brown, but I just wanted to fill it all in. Now I'm just adding a little bit of that same brown, just more concentrated, and filling it in here and there. But I still want to leave some of that tan color through. Now I'll go over him a couple times because I'm always not happy with what I'm doing, but I'm just basically just filling him in and just blending it all together. So then we're just going to let that dry. Well, no, we're not. See how, okay, so what I'm doing is I'm lifting some of the areas off to where I thought it was just a little too dark, and I didn't want him to be completely dark brown. So just filling him in. That's really all you need to do. You're just laying down your first layer, your second little layer. So, and while I'm painting here, or deciding what I'm doing next, feel free to join me on my Facebook group, uh, Watercolor Tutorials and Inspiration, where I do a weekly weekend challenge of, right now we're working on, uh, um, oh my goodness, journals, watercolor journals. And each week I give you a prompt on an idea of what to paint in your watercolor journal. All right, back to the painting. I'm just taking some green and filling in those little leaves there. At the end of this, when it's all dry, we will be lining it because it will be like a line and wash type of painting. So what I did there is I just added a darker value of my green. Actually, I mixed it with some of the Paynes gray just to make it a little bit darker. Because I didn't, like I said, I didn't want it to leave them just flat. Now I'm just going down along the stems. All right, so back to what I was talking, I also have a Patreon page, and I will have that link down below, and you can feel free to join. Okay, now I'm taking the green, and I'm just filling in some of the grassy area there. Just randomly, just, you don't have to do like a whole complete wash. But I do like to have where the grass line meets the skyline. I do like to have that a bit more defined. And now I'm just putting up a little bit of like grasses coming up. I didn't do all of it because there's areas I didn't paint yet, so it would be pointless for me to do that. So we'll let that go. And now I'm just adding a little bit of Paynes gray, and then I'm just going to mix that in just to give the the ground a little bit of texture. There I added some more of the regular green, just a little more concentrated in the pigment. But if you can see, I have some white areas in there, and that's fine. You don't want to have it you don't want it to be flat. Now I'm erasing there, but later I realized I didn't want to erase that. That was actually part of his leg. I mistook his belly for his other leg on his other side. So I will be painting that back in. So there's nothing on your part you need to erase. I just forgot. Oh, and let me remind you, in the tracing, when I first did the trace at Tuesday, I forgot to add his arm. So you're going to want to add a little arm onto the bear. So, yeah, I can't believe I forgot to add his arm. So anyway, because I thought something doesn't look right, and then it dawned on me when I was all done and the video was all made. You didn't make his arm. All right, now I'm painting the honey pot and just doing a light wash on that. It's mainly kind of like an orangey color, But then I'm taking the mushroom, the color that I'm going to use for the stem of, oh, I added a little bit of red to that just to make it a little bit more orangey. And then I'm just going to smooth that in. But I'm also taking the color that I used for the mushroom stem, and I will use that to look like honey coming down over the side because it is a really nice honey color. So I'll use that. I'll use like a very pigmented version of that to make it look like honey. Excuse me. All right. Not quite sure what I'm doing there. I always have to do a voiceover, mainly because, oh, here I'm doing the mushroom stem. I do a voiceover only because I'm not at that point yet to where I can talk and paint at the same time. I mean, I could, but there are distractions around me, and it's just easier for me to have it muted and do a voiceover when I'm done. So I'm taking that honey color and I'm filling in that mushroom stem. And I'm doing a light wash there because I will do another coat. But now I want to kind of make it a little bit darker where that little separation there is, just to give the appearance of it standing out more. So just putting on another layer, and then I'm going over those little marks in the mushrooms where, if you see mushrooms, you see little uh, lines in there from, if they're not fresh or what have you. And it just gives a character. Now we're going to paint underneath. And this is going to be a darker value, and it is basically the honey color with Paynes gray mixed into it. And I'm doing that darker because that's underneath. The light's not hitting it, it's shadowed. It's underneath. It's in a protected area. So that's going to be like a darker version. So let me get that around there. But yeah, Payne's gray is fantastic for shading a color and taking a color to make it a step darker, and especially for shaded areas. I use Payne's gray to create shade. Say I'm doing a bunch of trees or something and I want shade in the front. I will, mix Payne's gray in, or just use Payne's gray itself to make the shadows. So I'm just going over his ears a little bit because I didn't feel I had enough paint in there for his ear to look like it was behind, on the other side of his head. All right. We're rolling right along here. So now I'm taking that honey color, very pigmented, not a lot of water. And just kind of like making it a little darker where those little imperfections come down in the thing, and then also adding in for the shadow. And I'll do that up above there. I was thinking about using Payne's gray, and I did not because I wanted it to be that same color. But there, I did add some Payne's gray underneath there. Yeah. Because that just helps. See, it just makes a nice shadow. When it dries lighter. So now I'm just going to smooth it in with it's just a damp, clean brush. All right. Now I'm doing the bee. I'm just going to drop some yellow into that little bee in the 3 places on the yellow. All I did when I made the bee for the sketch of Tuesday is I made 3 circles, and then in between the 3 circles, 2 areas, I kind of filled it in with black, and then the areas that were left white will be there. I'm putting the honey in with the same color that I did the mushroom stem. But anyway, and I'll just then put the black in where I had my black pencil. All right, just giving a touch up on that honey pot. because I'm not going to get real crazy in a lot of detail with this because it is going to be, I'm going to outline it with my micro pen. So um, this is just a fun, like I said, fun, whimsical painting. I'm adding a little bit more green that I did mix with Paynes gray into my leaves. And then I'm just going down along the side of where I already have the lighter color version. I like to give my little branches a two-tone. Plus, we will be outlining that with the micro pen, but you'll still be able to see it through there. Now I'm just going up with little grasses. Just little flicks of the paintbrush. And then I'm just going to fill in some, paint in with the darker green, just some areas in the grass. And then there I am. I want to define. I like to define that area where where land meets sky in a picture. So I'm doing that underneath there, and just defining where that grassy area starts. And it also provides a nice little shadow as well. So I'm just doing some blending, so it's not such a harsh transition. All right. Now back to the bear. I felt that at that time when I was looking at him, I felt that he looked a little flat. So I'm just going in for a little bit more definition, like around where his leg, where he has his leg bent, then his other leg, then his tummy. I wanted that to be a little bit on the lighter side. So now I'm going to blend that in so it doesn't look so you want to blend it so that your color it goes together. It doesn't look like a solid line there. But I will detail him down along the tree and where he's sitting because it would be dark under there. You know, a lot of it is basically you're laying your paint down, you're putting it where you want, and if you're not happy with how it looks, you can always just clean your brush off, wipe it on a paper towel, it'll be damp, and smooth around those areas where you're like, oh, I had too much paint there, or oh, I didn't really want that to be in that area. You know, just use your brush to blend it out, and you see that's what I'm doing right there. I'm just blending, but I wanted to define his arm, his poor little arm that I almost forgot to give him. However, was he going to eat his honey if he didn't have his arm? All right, now I'm going in with black onto the bee because the yellow has dried. Now, if I was doing if I was doing a bigger bee, I would probably have gone in with my black first and then did my yellow after that while the black was still a little bit damp, so the black kind of would bleed into the yellow. But for the little bees, I'm just doing it because this is very cartoonish, so it doesn't need to be precise. So I'm just refining some areas. You know, you always want to sit back, take a look at your painting, see where, you know, oh, where could it use a little more color? Where did I have too much color? Which is why it's great to work in layers and not so dark in the beginning, because you can always add, but it's not that it's that hard to take away, but if you have too many layers, then it is hard to take away. So now I'm just going to define even there, get those little ribs under the mushroom. So I want to put a little shadow in, more shadowing in there. Because see, that Paynes gray, it looks dark when you first lay it down, but it actually, it lightens up. So get those ribs in there. Because I did want that to be darker to give the effect that there is there is shadow, that is dark under there. Now I'm just filling in his little black nose, or little, actually I'm making his nose black, and his smile, and his eyes. And just finishing off that bee, getting his little legs on there. And his wings I did in a very light Paynes gray. But his eyes and his mouth. I could have done that with my pen, but I decided to use my paintbrush instead. Like I said, this is very whimsical, very cartoony, but I think it's fun if you have small children, grandchildren, whatever. I have a little granddaughter. I think this would be fun. Well, actually, I have three granddaughters. One is 12 going on 13. The other one is going to be 4 shortly, and another one is going to be 2 shortly. So for the younger ones, this will be a fun painting for them to have them put in their room. So I'm just giving a little bit more of a coat of that red top. Just another little layer since it's all dried. I just wanted to give that, because that is, a big focal point there. So I wanted to give that some more character. So we are soon ready to dry this painting. And I like the way it looks with the not having the hand-drawn circles on there, just kind of making them random with my paint, and however the paint I thought it looked a little more realistic. And I'm going back in there with the bear. That's where I realized I took away his leg where I thought it was not, and then I'm just I want to lighten up his tummy a little bit. Just giving him a little bit of fur. As he sits there and smiles at the bee because he has a tummy filled with honey. I love when a painting can tell a story. Like, we can, which will be fun with my granddaughters, what story can we tell from this painting, from this picture? What was the bear thinking? Or what was the bear doing? Where did the bear come from? Where did he get the honey? How did he eat all of the honey? There's so many questions that I could ask with this painting for my granddaughter. So now I'm just giving a little bit more grass. I actually mixed my green with the Paynes gray because I wanted another color in there, because the first color was just the regular green. Now I wanted to add a little bit of a darker version of it just to give it that two-tone look. Now I thought, you know what? This was like a last minute, very random decision, was to put flowers on those leaves there. So I just took the same red that I used for the cap of the mushroom, and I'm just doing a bunch of dots. Just doing a bunch of dots, making some flowers. Because then when we outline them, we can put squiggle lines around them like they're flowers. So I thought, oh, let's put some color over here. Let's just make flowers on that, make it look fun. Now I'm smoothing off. It's just a damp brush, and I'm just kind of making some light areas on him where some will stay dark, and then I'm just lifting off some of the paint. So I used a paper towel there. When you're lifting, it's always good to have a little bit of a paper towel or a tissue or something with you. And so what I did there was I took some of my red paint And I gave him a rosy cheek. Do bears have rosy cheeks? No, but this guy is. So it's just a little bit rosy. That's why I dabbed it off with the paper towel, because it just left a little bit of a rosy look there. And now I'm just defining it. It's your choice on what you want to do, how you want to paint your bear. You could paint your bear a whole other color. You could paint him, you can make a red bear, you can make a black bear, you can make whatever color bear you want. You can make a white bear and just use some Paynes gray to outline him. So now, before we do the pen, I want to make sure the whole thing is completely dry. So I'm just taking my hair dryer. I have a separate hair dryer just for my painting. It's actually an old hair dryer. I thought when I got my new one, I thought, oh, I'll put this out. So there's the micron pen. Now that is a number 5. And I will be honest, my number 1 micron pen ran out of ink, sadly. And it was my last one because I thought I had another one. So today I just ordered more micron pens in a number 1. It would have been best to use a number 1 or a number 5 or number 3 when doing these outlines. So you will see that my outline is a little dark. I tried to keep a light touch, but then I forget what I'm doing, or somebody talked to me and I was like, oh, and I forgot what I was doing. So my recommendation is, if you're going to use a micro pen, use for outlining, especially on a smaller picture like this, to use a number 1 or a number 3. I'm not sure why I showed that to you. I guess, it was just the regular sketch. And so I'm just going to outline. So at first I started off heavy, then I'm like, oh, you need a lighter touch. So then I went to a lighter touch, but the number 5 is just a little too thick for these smaller drawings. So I recommend a number 1 or a number 3 tip if you're using a micron pen or a micro pen, just because it got a little too dark for my taste at the very end. I mean, I'm not mad about it, but I really wished I would have had a number 1, and I did not. So I'm just outlining. One of my favorite things to make is line and wash drawings. I actually have a free line and wash drawing workbook that has a video with it, and I can link that down below. You can grab that. So now I'm just making sure I follow my pencil lines. Just outlining little Mr. Bear. I think it might be fun to make a little series of my little bear and the mushrooms in his honey pot. Make a story out of, make a bigger story out of it to put together for my granddaughters. I think that would be fun to do. There's so much you can do with your watercolors, and you might, if you're like me, when I first started watercoloring, I mean, I have stacks upon stacks of watercolor paintings that I store in books with those little sleeves. Then I have some in these little covered, like little like Rubbermaid cases that snap together, and I have them in there. And a lot of times, what I do is, for certain gifts, especially for family members, I will pull some out and I'll just go get a frame and I'll frame it and give them as a gift. Or I might cut some up and use as gift tags. My living room is actually, my wall art in my living room is my paintings, my watercolors that I've done over the years. Saved a lot on buying artwork because I just got the frames from Target, and I was good. So as you can see how on the flowers there, how dark my micron pen is. So I was a little disappointed with that, but that's why I'm like, oh, I wish I would have had my number 1. And I wish I would have had it for the rest of it. But there it is. It's all done. We are all done painting this. So I hope you enjoyed painting our little mushroom and bear and his little honey pot. And I'd love for you to join me on my Facebook group, Watercolor Tutorials and Inspiration. I post things every day on there. And I want to thank you for watching. And as I always say, stay colorful, stay creative, and have fun. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.